Have you ever felt like someone's attention goes beyond normal interest? That subtle, almost magnetic pull that makes you wonder if they're thinking about you when you're not around. That's exactly what we're exploring today. There are signs that a man wants you more than you realize. Sometimes he doesn't even consciously admit it to himself. You might notice him remembering the tiniest details about your conversations, reaching out at unexpected moments, or teasing you in ways that make you feel noticed. Perhaps he shows up where you least expect, or his friends drop hints about how often he talks about you. These are not coincidences. These are the behavioral fingerprints of someone who's secretly obsessed. Understanding these signals allows you to see beyond surface level interactions, giving you clarity on his intentions and giving you the power to navigate his attention wisely. When it comes to understanding a man's feelings, the first thing to realize is that words often only tell a fraction of the story. People can say whatever they think you want to hear, or what makes them appear confident, cool, or composed, but their actions rarely lie. If you truly want to understand whether a man is secretly obsessed with you, you need to pay attention to what he does, not just what he says. This is the principle of observing over listening, and it's something that can completely change the way you read someone's interest. Think about it: someone can claim they are fine, or not that invested, yet their actions might contradict their words in every way. Maybe he's constantly checking in, sending texts at unexpected moments, or showing up in your life more than seems coincidental. These behaviors aren't random, they are subtle, unconscious ways that he communicates desire. When a man is truly drawn to someone, he naturally finds ways to be involved in their life, even without overtly stating it. Observation over words is also about noticing patterns rather than isolated incidents. One text saying, "Hey, what's up?" isn't necessarily a sign of obsession, but a consistent string of messages, curiosity about your daily life, or remembering small, seemingly insignificant details is. These repeated patterns reveal a level of focus and attention that goes beyond casual interest. It shows that his mind is often occupied by you, even when he appears calm, detached, or nonchalant on the surface. Another key aspect of this principle is understanding the difference between effort and obligation. A man who's secretly obsessed will go out of his way to engage with you without expecting anything in return. He'll ask about your day, remember your preferences, and notice things that no one else does. These behaviors may seem small, but collectively, they reveal a deep-seated interest. The contrast is striking when compared to someone who simply says the right things, but doesn't follow through with consistent actions. There's a transparency to genuine obsession that words alone can never achieve. Observation also requires paying attention to nonverbal cues. How does he behave around you physically? Does he lean in when you speak, maintain prolonged eye contact, or mirror your movements? These are subtle signs that his brain is attuned to you in ways he may not even consciously acknowledge. A man who is secretly obsessed will unconsciously seek closeness, and these small gestures often speak louder than any verbal declaration. It's also important to recognize that genuine interest often shows itself in effort that's invisible to others. He may send a text while you're asleep, simply because he was thinking of you. He might comment on something you mentioned in passing days or weeks earlier. He may offer support in moments you didn't expect or subtly prioritize your happiness without making it obvious. All of this demonstrates that his attention is not just casual, it's persistent and deliberate, even when he doesn't outright say, "I'm into you." Observation over words isn't just about reading signs. It's also about understanding human psychology. Men, especially those who aren't used to openly expressing emotions, often communicate through their behavior before they can articulate feelings. By learning to interpret these subtle cues, you gain insight into not only his attraction, but his emotional investment. You learn to distinguish between someone who is genuinely drawn to you and someone who's performing for appearances. Observation over words empowers you as well. When you rely solely on what someone says, you can be misled or left doubting your instincts. But when you train yourself to notice actions, patterns, and behavior, you develop a clarity that allows you to see the truth. You start to recognize when someone is genuinely obsessed and when they're simply playing a role. You begin to understand the difference between surface, level charm, and deep, consistent attention, the difference between casual flirtation and someone whose thoughts genuinely revolve around you. The key takeaway is simple, but powerful actions speak louder than words, especially when it comes to desire. A man who is secretly obsessing for you may not always articulate it, but he will reveal it in ways that are impossible to fake consistently. By honing your observation skills, noticing patterns, And understanding the psychology behind subtle behaviors, you gain a profound insight into his feelings. You see beyond the words he uses to the intentions he cannot hide, and in that clarity, you hold the power to navigate his attention wisely, confidently, and with an understanding that few people ever achieve. One of the most fascinating aspects of attraction is that it often operates on a level beneath conscious awareness. When a man is secretly obsessed with someone, it's not always about what he says or even what he consciously decides. It's about what his mind cannot help but focus on, the way he thinks about you when you're not there, the subtle ways he seeks connection, and the emotional pull that keeps drawing him back to you. This is what I call the psychological pull, and it's one of the clearest signs that someone's feelings run deeper than surface level attraction. You'll notice it in the little things. Maybe he remembers the smallest details of your life, something you mentioned once in passing or a tiny preference you shared. He might bring it up later in a conversation, almost casually, as if by chance. But the truth is, he was thinking about it, storing it in his mind, and looking for a reason to show that he noticed. This behavior demonstrates a level of mental and emotional investment that goes far beyond ordinary interest. It's not something he's forcing, it's something that naturally occurs because he's captivated by you. The psychological pull is also about preoccupation. A man who is secretly obsessed will often have your presence lingering in his thoughts, even in situations where it seems illogical. He might find himself reflecting on a conversation you had hours or even days ago, wondering how you felt in a particular moment or how you reacted to something. He may imagine scenarios involving you, anticipating your reactions, or thinking about ways to connect again. These thoughts aren't random. They are a sign that his mind is repeatedly drawn to you, whether he acknowledges it or not. Another aspect of this pull is emotional resonance. When someone is truly interested, your moods, reactions, and feelings begin to matter to them in subtle but significant ways. He may notice if you seem stressed or upset, and he will unconsciously consider ways to comfort or support you, even without announcing it. He may feel a small thrill at your happiness or tension at your frustration, which signals that he's emotionally attuned to you on a level most people rarely experience in casual relationships. This is not about manipulation. It's about a genuine emotional connection that grows quietly and persistently. You can also see the psychological pull in his curiosity. He doesn't just want to know surface level facts about your life. He wants to understand you, your thoughts, your motivations, the things that make you feel alive. He may ask questions that seem innocent or conversational, but in reality, they are his way of mapping your inner world, trying to understand the person who has captured his mind so thoroughly. This curiosity isn't forced, it's organic. It's the natural result of someone being mentally and emotionally drawn to you in ways that go unnoticed by casual observers. This pull can also manifest in subtle signs of longing. He might find ways to be near you without making it obvious, or he may linger in situations where your paths might cross. Even if he tries to appear indifferent, there's often a tension in his behavior, a sign that he's caught between wanting to act on his feelings and maintaining composure. These behaviors are incredibly revealing because they reflect an internal struggle, a mind that is captivated, and a desire that he may not openly express. Understanding psychological pull is about recognizing that obsession is often invisible. Unlike overt flirting or dramatic declarations of love, this type of attraction happens largely inside the mind. It's manifested through attention, memory, curiosity, and emotional resonance. A man might seem calm and collected, but if you learn to notice the signs, the way he remembers details, thinks about you when he shouldn't, or subtly prioritizes your emotional state, you start to see the depth of his feelings. The key insight here is that attraction isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes the strongest signs are found in the quiet moments, in the repeated thoughts, in the way his mind keeps returning to you even when there's no external reason. By tuning into these subtle indicators, you gain an almost psychic understanding of his emotional state. You can see beyond the surface, recognizing not just interest, but a deeper, almost magnetic pull that reveals true obsession. When you understand the psychological pull, you start to interpret behaviors differently. A casual gesture suddenly takes on significance. A seemingly small detail becomes proof of attention and care. This awareness empowers you, not just to recognize someone's feelings, but to navigate them wisely. You understand that attraction is rarely just about words or appearances. It's about the mind's persistent focus, the unconscious attention, and the emotional resonance that quietly signals desire. And once you notice this, you begin to see the hidden layers of human connection, the subtle ways in which someone is drawn to you far more than they let on. One of the most reliable ways to tell if a man is secretly obsessed with you is by observing his behavioral patterns. Unlike words which can be carefully chosen or manipulated, patterns of behavior are much harder to control consciously. They reveal what a person truly prioritizes, how they think about you, and how consistently they invest in your presence. If you pay attention to these patterns, you start to notice a rhythm, a consistency in his actions that speaks louder than anything he might say. Behavioral patterns are often subtle at first. It might start with little things, a text at the same time each day, checking in after a significant event in your life, or consistently remembering your preferences. At first glance, these gestures might seem coincidental, but over time, the repetition becomes meaningful. When a man is genuinely drawn to someone, his behavior naturally forms a recognizable pattern, even if he's unaware of it himself. These repeated actions are like breadcrumbs, offering insight into his true feelings. Another way behavioral patterns manifest is through his responsiveness. Someone who is lightly interested may respond sporadically or only when it's convenient. But a man who is secretly obsessed finds ways to stay engaged, even if life is busy. He might initiate contact regularly, follow up on previous conversations, or notice changes in your mood and react accordingly. These actions may not always be dramatic, but the consistency communicates investment. Over time, you realize that his attention isn't fleeting. It's a steady stream that signals something much deeper than casual attraction. Behavioral patterns also appear in how he adjusts his schedule or priorities. He might make time for you without announcing it, show up when you least expect it, or rearrange plans to accommodate yours. While these gestures may seem small individually, collectively they indicate a pattern of prioritization that goes beyond superficial interest. When someone is emotionally hooked, their choices start to reflect you, even subtly, in ways that a casual admirer would never consider. These patterns are a window into his mind. They reveal the invisible thread of thought that constantly connects him to you. It's important to notice how he treats consistency over extremes. Grand gestures are often flashy but can be one-time occurrences. Behavioral patterns, however, show up in the mundane, everyday moments. Does he remember your coffee order, the song you mentioned liking, or the tiny details of your weekend plans? Does he check in after an important event, or ask about a challenge you mentioned? These repeated, thoughtful actions are proof that his attention is sustained, not sporadic. Obsession doesn't always shout, it whispers through these repeated, caring actions. Patterns can also reveal emotional investment in ways that words cannot. Perhaps he teases you in the same playful way repeatedly, or initiates conversations about topics he knows excite you. Maybe he subtly mirrors your behavior or matches your energy when you're together. These recurring behaviors are often unconscious, yet they indicate an emotional alignment that is difficult to fake. When you observe these patterns carefully, you can see beyond what he says, catching glimpses of how deeply his mind and emotions are connected to yours. Another aspect of behavioral patterns is predictability and unpredictability. While his gestures may feel spontaneous, they often follow a hidden logic, an underlying attention to your preferences, moods, and reactions. Over time, you start to notice that his actions, while appearing casual or unplanned, consistently support connection and engagement with you. It's like seeing the outline of a design in what initially seemed random, revealing that your presence is central in his daily rhythm and decision-making. Observing behavioral patterns gives you clarity and confidence. Words can be ambiguous, feelings can be masked, and intentions can be misinterpreted. But patterns rarely lie. By paying attention to repeated behaviors, you start to see the truth. A man who is secretly obsessed isn't interested in fleeting moments. He is consistently showing up in ways that signal deep attention, curiosity, and emotional investment. Recognizing these patterns empowers you to understand the depth of his feelings, differentiate between casual interest and genuine attachment, and navigate the relationship with insight rather than guesswork. Behavioral patterns are the language of attention, persistence, and obsession. They tell a story that words cannot fully capture, a story of someone whose thoughts, actions, and priorities are quietly and repeatedly drawn to you. By learning to read these patterns, you gain access to a hidden layer of human behavior, one that reveals not just interest, but the profound and often unspoken ways a man demonstrates that he wants you more than you may realize. Emotional investment is perhaps the most telling indicator that a man is secretly obsessed with you. Unlike superficial attraction, which can be fleeting and inconsistent, emotional investment runs deep. It manifests in ways that are often subtle, almost imperceptible, but they reveal a man's true priorities, intentions, and feelings. When a man is emotionally hooked, his actions, choices, and even micro behaviors begin to revolve around your presence, your happiness, and your well-being, even when he doesn't consciously realize it. Understanding these signals allows you to read him with clarity, giving insight into a level of care and attention that goes far beyond casual interest. One of the most common emotional investment signals is the way he consistently prioritizes you, even when it's inconvenient. He may rearrange his schedule to accommodate yours, check in during moments he knows might be challenging for you, or offer support without expecting recognition or reward. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about the small, persistent ways he makes your happiness a consideration in his decision-making. Emotional investment is rarely loud, it's expressed quietly, through choices that show thoughtfulness, awareness, and care. Another clear signal is his willingness to engage with your inner world. A man who is emotionally invested wants to understand not just what you do, but who you are, your fears, your dreams, and even the seemingly trivial things that matter to you. He listens attentively, remembers details you've shared, and occasionally surprises you by acting on information you may have thought he would forget. These actions demonstrate that your life, in all its nuances, occupies space in his thoughts. Emotional investment isn't just about being physically present, it's about being mentally and emotionally present as well. You'll also notice emotional investment in the consistency of his actions over time. Someone can say all the right things in a single interaction, but a man who is truly invested shows up repeatedly, demonstrating reliability and focus. He initiates contact not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to connect. He follows up on conversations, checks in on events that matter to you, and ensures that you feel acknowledged and valued. Over time, these repeated actions create a pattern that is impossible to ignore, revealing his deeper attachment. Emotional investment often reveals itself through vulnerability as well. A man who is secretly obsessed may let his guard down around you, sharing thoughts or feelings he wouldn't reveal to anyone else. This isn't about oversharing, it's about trust and the desire for emotional closeness. When he feels safe enough to express parts of himself with you, it indicates that his attachment goes beyond casual attraction. He is investing emotionally because he sees a potential for connection that is meaningful and lasting. Another subtle sign is the way he reacts to your emotions. If he notices you're upset or stressed, he instinctively seeks ways to comfort or support you. He may not announce it, and he may not always succeed perfectly, but the intention is clear. Emotional investment is reflected in these unconscious behaviors. He cares enough to respond to your needs, to empathize with your experiences, and to consider how his actions affect your emotional state. The depth of this concern often signals that he is thinking about you even when you're not around. Emotional investment can also be seen in the way he integrates you into his world, even subtly. He may mention you to friends or family, include you in plans, or show interest in aligning his life in ways that feel natural and effortless. These actions reveal that he is envisioning a future in which you play a meaningful role. Unlike superficial attraction, which often focuses on the present moment, emotional investment anticipates ongoing connection and prioritizes long-term alignment. Recognizing emotional investment empowers you to navigate relationships with insight. By observing these signals, the consistent prioritization, the attention to detail, the empathy, the subtle acts of inclusion, you can distinguish between casual interest and genuine obsession. Emotional investment is not performative, it's a reflection of someone's true focus and attachment. It is the invisible thread that binds a man's thoughts and actions to your presence, revealing a depth of care that words alone cannot convey. Understanding emotional investment allows you to see beyond surface level charm and notice the consistent, meaningful ways a man demonstrates his attachment. It is the culmination of attention, thoughtfulness, and care, the unmistakable fingerprint of someone who is not just attracted to you, but genuinely, emotionally, and persistently drawn to you. When you learn to recognize these signs, you gain clarity, confidence, and the ability to interpret his intentions with precision, empowering you to navigate the relationship with awareness and insight. Here's a strong, engaging conclusion for your entire speech, tying all four keynotes together and leaving the audience with clarity and empowerment. At the end of the day, understanding whether a man is secretly obsessed with you isn't about overanalyzing every word or worrying about hidden intentions. It's about learning to observe, notice patterns, and recognize the subtle ways his mind and heart are drawn to you. From the quiet clues in his actions to the psychological pull that keeps him thinking of you, From the repeated patterns of attention to the deep emotional investment he shows without announcement, these are the real signs of someone who wants you far more than you might realize. When you pay attention to these signals, you gain a clarity that empowers you. You see the truth behind the words, the intent behind the gestures, and the depth of his feelings even when they're unspoken. This awareness doesn't just reveal attraction, it gives you insight, confidence, and control over how you respond. The men who are truly drawn to you will show it consistently, thoughtfully, and subtly. By tuning into these signs, you can recognize genuine attention, navigate his intentions wisely, and understand when someone's desire goes far beyond surface-level interest. The secret obsession is not something to fear, it's a reflection of the magnetic, undeniable impact you have on someone's mind and heart. And when you see it clearly, you're no longer guessing, you're fully aware of the depth of his attraction, and you hold the power to decide